Dear students, today I have selected a very important topic from applied aspect of respiration, that is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So as per your syllabus, we are taking an early clinical exposure session on this important applied topic of respiration. So what is chronic obstructive pulmonary disease? In your clinics, in your final MBBS medicine subject, you will learn further in detail about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. If you will visit the hospitals, you will find many patients of chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. So let us see the introduction part. COPD is also known as chronic obstructive lung disease or chronic obstructive airway disease, chronic airflow limitation, or chronic obstructive respiratory disease. But in our hospital, this COPD word you will find it commonly. Now it refers to mainly two conditions. One is chronic bronchitis and second is emphysema. So a pair of two diseases together are collectively called COPD. In general, in these diseases, our airways will become narrowed and it leads to a limitation of the flow of air to and from the lungs, which will cause shortness of the breath. Now carefully see both the diagrams. The first one above figure is of normal lungs. You will see, as we have discussed in the last anatomy lectures, normal looking alveoli and bronchioles. Now see the below figure. You will find narrowing of the bronchioles and destruction of the wall of the alveoli. So exactly these changes will happen in a COPD patient. So in this topic we will discuss two conditions, chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Even though both are collectively known as COPD, but both are entirely different. Let us discuss in detail. Now this is a debatable topic. Sometimes asthma is also included in chronic obstructive pulmonary disease. But few authors tell that asthma is a separate entity. It is not a chronic condition. It is actually an acute exacerbation. So it should not be a part of COPD. So as you can see, the difference is COPD onset is in midlife, while in asthma it is quite early, often in childhood. Then COPD is a slowly progressive disease, while in asthma it is variable from day to day. Sometimes symptoms will worse at the night or in the early morning. In COPD there is typical long smoking history, while in asthma there is an allergic component, history of rhinitis, eczema also present. There is also a hereditary tendency of having asthma. So in our discussion, we will not discuss asthma, as we are not considering asthma as a part of COPD. Now the problem is that sometimes patient will come having clinical features of both asthma as well as COPD, and clinician may confuse in stamping the correct diagnosis. So actually these are the typical cases of asthma COPD overlap syndrome. Now this syndrome is characterized by persistent airflow limitation with several features which are usually associated with asthma as well as with COPD. So this syndrome is identified by features that it shares with both asthma and COPD. So sometimes this type of mixed picture may be visible in clinics. Now if you see this figure, in the first figure you can see a cut section of a bronchiole. Now this yellow color substance which is visible is actually collection of the mucus, and due to this mucus collection there is narrowing of the airway. So this is a clinical finding in mainly in chronic bronchitis patient. While in the second diagram many alveoli are visible and many alveoli are overinflated due to rupture of their walls. So this finding is typically seen in emphysema patients. So chronic bronchitis and emphysema have different clinical features as well as different structural changes. Now, due to less flow of the air in and out of the airway, it is because of following causes. The airways and the air sacs lost their elastic quality. The walls between many of the air sacs are destroyed. The walls of the airways become thick and inflamed as we have seen in previous diagram. The airways make more mucus than usual due to irritation, and which tends to clog them. Now let us discuss the etiological factors, means causative factors for COPD. The first and most important factor is smoking. Smoking may lead to both either chronic bronchitis or emphysema. Second thing is occupational exposure. Some persons, for example, working in coal mining, gold mining, then in cotton textile industries, even few chemicals which may lead to fumes like welding fumes. They may be causative factors for airflow obstructive diseases. Third important cause is air pollution, which is increasing day by day. And fourth cause is sudden airway constriction in response to few inhaled irritants to which the person is extremely sensitive. Now, out of these all causes, the main cause, which is the main finding in our society, is smoking. Now, another cause for COPD, especially the emphysema, is genetic cause. It is alpha 1 antitrypsin deficiency. It is responsible for approximately 2% of the cases of COPD. Now, what happens? The body does not make enough of a protein, alpha 1 antitrypsin. Normally, this alpha 1 antitrypsin is a protective protein. It protects our lungs from damage caused by few enzymes like elastase and trypsin. Now these enzymes are actually protease enzymes. They do proteolysis. And when any person do smoking, these enzymes are liberated. But if alpha 1 antitrypsin is there, it will take care of our lungs. So due to genetic deficiency of the alpha 1 antitrypsin as well as with smoking, there are more chances of getting COPD. So as we have discussed, these are the main risk factors for COPD. Now after having overview of COPD, now we will discuss both chronic bronchitis and emphysema one by one. So the definition of chronic bronchitis is presence of cough and sputum production for at least 3 months. So as the name indicates, it is a chronic condition. So cough and sputum must be there for minimum 3 months. Any person comes to you having history of cough for 3 days or for 1 week may not be considered in a chronic bronchitis. So remember this cutoff duration of 3 months. Now this chronic bronchitis is characterized by the following: increased in the size and the number of submucous glands in large bronchi, which may lead to increase in mucus production. Then increase in the number of goblet cells, which also secrete mucus. And impaired ciliary function, which reduces the mucus clearance. In the previous lecture, in the physiological anatomy part, we have seen that diagram of goblet cells and cilia as well as their functions. So you can compare normal bronchi with chronic bronchitis bronchi. See the thickness of the wall, see the redness, see the yellowish mucus collection, and see the narrowing of the airway. So this is a typical classical uh, clinical finding in chronic bronchitis. Now after discussing the chronic bronchitis, let us discuss what is emphysema. So exact definition is emphysema is defined as enlargement of the air spaces distal to the terminal bronchioles with destruction of the wall of the alveoli. So if you remember the last lecture, distal to the terminal bronchioles means distal to the conducting zone, means true respiratory zone, which includes respiratory bronchioles, alveolar sac and alveolar duct. And see in the diagram, there is overinflated alveolar sacs visible. So this is a typical finding in emphysema. So here the large bronchi are mostly not involved, only distal parts, that is alveoli and adjoining parts are involved. Pathologies: as the alveoli are destroyed, the alveolar surface area in contact with the blood decreases. So the gas exchange area decreases and then it may lead to dead space. As we have discussed in the last lecture, the dead space is only present in conducting zone mainly, which is called anatomical dead space. But here at the alveoli level, there is dead space creation due to destruction of the wall, and this is not an anatomical or physiological dead space. This is an abnormal dead space. Now, emphysema are having three types as per the parts of the alveoli and adjoining parts involved. First is called centri-acinar, second is pan-acinar, and third is paraseptal. Now, centri-acinar, the first type, is also called centrilobular. It is the most common type of emphysema. Now, in this type of emphysema, the destruction in the bronchioles are usually seen in upper parts of the lung, and the inflammation begins in bronchioles and then it spreads peripherally, but usually the alveolar sac remains intact. See in the diagram, alveoli are intact, only respiratory bronchioles are affected. And this type of the emphysema occurs most often in smokers. As we have discussed, smoking is the most common causative factor. So this most common type of emphysema is obviously finding in smokers. And second type of emphysema is pan-acinar emphysema. Now pan means all. So here all the parts are affected. So you can see in the diagram, the entire alveoli is affected, including the respiratory bronchioles. Now this type of emphysema most commonly occurs in lower parts of the lung. And this type of the emphysema is generally observed in patients with alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, means that genetic cause. Now the last one, paraseptal. It is also called distal acinar emphysema. As you can see in the diagram, it primarily involves the distal parts, means alveolar duct and alveolar sacs, and respiratory bronchioles are usually spared. This process is localized around the septa of the lung or pleura, and it is believed to be the likely cause of spontaneous pneumothorax. Now, what is pneumothorax means the pleural cavity, which is usually closed, may open due to any injury or due to any other reason. And this condition is called pneumothorax, and it may be a complication in a case of paraseptal or distal acinar emphysema. So we have discussed three types of emphysema. Again, see the pictures of all the three types. AS is for alveolar sac, AD means alveolar duct, RB means respiratory bronchioles, and TB means terminal bronchioles. Okay, so there are three types, and the last one, centrilobular or centriacinar, is the most common type of the emphysema, which is found in smokers. So how the process starts? Due to smoking or due to air pollution or due to alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, patient may get either chronic bronchitis or emphysema depending upon the presence of causative agent. Now in chronic bronchitis, there will be edema of the bronchial wall, hypersecretion of the mucus, chronic cough at least for 3 months, and bronchospasm. And in emphysema, there is destruction of the alveolar septa and airway instability. Now in both the conditions, the result will be same: obstruction of the airways, trapping of the air, dyspnea means difficulty in the breathing, and frequent chances of infections. So this may lead to abnormal ventilation perfusion ratio, hypoxemia, hypoventilation, and cor pulmonale. Cor pulmonale is a condition in which ultimately due to disease of the lung, the function of the heart will be affected. So this is the pathophysiology of chronic bronchitis and emphysema. Now what this smoking and irritants do? So smoking and other airway irritants causes neutrophils, T lymphocytes, and other inflammatory cells to accumulate in the airways. And once activated, they trigger an inflammatory response in which an influx of the molecules known as inflammatory mediators navigate to the site in an attempt to destroy and remove inhaled foreign debris. So due to this process, ultimately the airways will get narrowed down. Actually, this inflammatory response is helpful to us because it will help in removing foreign bodies, foreign organisms, in healing, but sometimes it may be harmful. Actually, without this inflammation, the body would never recover from injury. But what happens in COPD? Repeated exposure to irritants like repeated smoking. So it will perpetuate an ongoing inflammatory response that never seems to shut itself off. And due to this exaggerated inflammatory response, there will be structural changes and physiological changes that get progressively worse. So the entire process starts like this. Irritants will irritate the airway. It will lead to excess mucus production, then inflammation, and mucus secreting glands and goblet cells will increase in the number. Ciliary function is reduced. More and more mucus is produced, bronchial wall becomes thick, lumen becomes narrow, and this mucus will plug the airway. Alveoli, which is adjacent to these bronchioles, may be damaged and fibrosed, and it will alter the function of alveolar macrophage, and therefore ultimately there will be infection.